While discussions about Iran, America and Israel, it may seem distant, the consequences could directly affect your daily lives. Well, think about fuel prices here. Every time you fill your car, in fact, every time a truck, it transports goods here and there, or maybe every time a flight takes off. Who's affected here? Oil prices, they do matter for everybody. And India here imports more than 80% of its crude oil that it consumes. And that means any disruption in West Asia, it can quickly affect India's economy. Well, the good news is that the initial agreement between the United States and Iran, it has already started calming the market down. Oil prices have eased, concerns about supply disruption have reduced, and investors, they are breathing a little easier. And you know why this is important? Rather, this is very important because lower oil prices, it can reduce inflation. They can support the rupee, they can lower pressure on government finances, and they can make everyday goods slightly more affordable than it was before. There's also another important factor here, and that is Chebar Port. Now, for years, India has invested in developing Chebar as a strategic gateway, just connecting India to Afghanistan and Central Asia. Sanctions and regional instability, it complicated those plans. But if relations improve here and restriction ease, India could gain new opportunities through the particular project. In short, this particular deal is not just about America and Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, this particular deal is about energy security, economic stability, trade route, investment opportunity, and India's long-term strategic interest. And that is why policymakers in New Delhi are watching every development so closely. Because what happens in Strait of Hormuz does not stay in Strait of Hormuz. It eventually reaches the fuel pumps, markets, businesses, and households across India. Just when Mr. Trump, he appeared ready to celebrate a major diplomatic achievement, a very familiar voice, it entered the debate. Well, we are talking about Barack Obama. The former US president has openly expressed skepticism about the new agreement. Now here, according to Mr. Obama, the proposed deal, it may not be significantly different from the nuclear agreement his own administration negotiated years ago. Wait. Can you think about the irony here? Well, years ago, Mr. Trump criticized Mr. Obama's Iran deal and withdrew from it. Today, critics argue that Washington may be, moving back towards a framework that looked very surprisingly familiar. Well, Mr. Obama's message, it was simple. Diplomacy may not solve every problem, but it is often better than war. In fact, he warned against the idea that countries can simply bomb their way to lasting solution. Instead, he argued that patient negotiations, in fact compromises and diplomacy, that remains essential tools in international relationship. Well, his comments have sparked fresh political debate in the United States. Supporters of Mr. Trump argue that the current deal is stronger and better structured. Critics argue that history is repeating itself. And this particular debate, it matters because foreign policy, it is rarely judged only by what happens today. It is judged by what happens years later from now. Well, will this particular agreement bring lasting stability, or will future leaders once again find themselves negotiating with Iran over the same issue again and again? Well, nobody knows the answer yet, but one thing is definitely clear. The debate over this agreement, that's far from over.